Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Audrey Marsh, and along with me today is Amy Hanna. She's our career coach for Auburn High School, and I'm Audrey Marshall again, work-based learning coordinator for Auburn City Schools. And we are hosting today our third installment of Career Corners, and we are so pleased today to have Dr. Amy Brabham from the City of Auburn and employees also from Si02 Medical Products, and they're going to bring to us some information today about careers at Si02. But I would like to introduce Dr. Brabham, and she will go ahead and introduce our guest speakers for today. Thank you, Dr. Brabham.
Thank you, Audrey. And we are just honored to partner with you all to bring a wonderful opportunity of explanation and interest of an Auburn company that has dramatically grown recently. And with that growth, two wonderful folks that we work with on a regular basis. We have Ms. Ty Booz, who heads up the training there for Si02, and Omar Gaffaro, who is newly tapped safety manager. And they have really been busy, to say the least, with the growth and with all the contract work that Si02 Medical Products is going through. So I'm going to turn this over to them so that we have as much time as we can to understand a little bit more about Si02. So Ty and Omar.
Hi, I'm Ty Booz, and as Amy said, I am over training here at Si02 Material Science. We are here in Auburn, Alabama. We've got three locations here. Our primary one is over on Riley Street, but we also have the building that Omar and I are in right now, which is on Veterans, and then we've got another new facility over on Innovation near GE. A little bit about my background. I've spent about 20 years working in and around manufacturing. Majority of my career was spent over in human resources at a company over in Carrollton, Georgia called Southwire. And I've worked in human resources for a very long time. And then the last several years, I was with outreach at Auburn University. I was on the outreach faculty there at Auburn. And I went out into the community, into businesses around the Southeast, and worked with them on things like lean principles and leadership development and things of that nature. So very, very familiar with manufacturing. It's what I've done most of my adult life. Here at Si02, I am doing training and development. And so a lot of that has to do, at least the last couple of months, has been with orientation and helping with the growth, but also developing a training plan here to help our folks as they get into their careers, not just with the job instruction piece, but also developing some leadership, some organizational development for our folks, and just making sure that we have the skills and resources that we need to do our jobs the very best way that we can. And Omar, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hey, guys. Omar Gaffaro, and I started my career in the manufacturing world about 15, 16 years ago. And here, the last job that I held was in Fayette, Alabama, running a rubber company. And I was the general manager of the rubber company, which what it entailed was to make sure that daily operations were executed. And with that is where I learned a lot of my current role, which is a safety manager. And now my role is to make sure that everybody's safe, right? Well, it goes a little bit beyond that, because it's not just to make sure that everybody's safe. There's processes that we got to follow, policies. We also, every time that somebody does get hurt, OSHA's comes and pays us a little visit, which we kind of don't like it, but nonetheless, we got to investigate and arrive to root causes to prevent any incidents from happening again. So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah. So let's tell you, I think what I'd like to do is just maybe tell them a little bit about some of the products that we make here.
Awesome.
So we've got a wide variety of products that we actually manufacture here at SIO. Primary one at this point right now, I'm not sure if you guys can see this really well, but there are these 10 milliliter vials, and what those are used for is they house vaccines. So you would go to the doctor and to receive a vaccine, and it would sort of come in one of these little vials, and it would get drawn up into a syringe. We also make some of these syringes here. This one is actually an infant one. And so, regular ones would be much larger than this, but, would get pulled up into the syringe and it gets injected into a person. And given that what's housed in these vials ultimately goes into a person, we have to be really, really careful about contamination, about safety, about cleanliness, to make sure that what we are putting out, what we're sending to our customers, really is the highest quality. That, if we were to make some mistakes here and send out product that is contaminated, that could cause a pretty big problem down the road. Could cause some health issues. You want to tell them about some of the other things we have here?
Yeah, a couple of the products that we make is, I'm sure that you all recognize something like this. It's a blood collection tube. And whenever you go and either, get blood withdrawn in the lab or donate blood, this is where your blood goes in. It's got a reagent on the bottom so that the blood will not coagulate, and it helps separate the red and the white blood cells. In addition to that, due to our new pandemic that we had, this is a rapid test tube where the sample of your either saliva goes in to make sure that we get results quickly.
Yep.
And here is another syringe that we make. And again, like Ty mentioned, we got to make sure that we are contaminant free. So with that comes a lot of cleaning periodically throughout the day, weekly, and even monthly throughout the facility.
So one of the things that we wanted to talk to you guys about are just the different types of jobs that we do here, not just the things that we make, but the jobs that are available here at Si02 Material Science. So I think the one that people probably know the most about would be our production operators. So we make these products. We also make things like baby bottles and other things as well. This is not an exhaustive list of the ones that we've shown you, but so we make several different things. But our production operators are the folks on our team who are responsible for actually running the machines and making these products. And so that makes up the bulk of our employees here, the bulk of our team. And as far as the requirements to get those jobs, we do like for people to have some sort of experience, but it's not necessary that you come in with particular certifications or a specific degree other than your high school diploma. That's important. But to get most of those entry-level positions, we're able to train you on a lot of those jobs. Now, as you get into other areas of the company, every manufacturer that you know of, we think a lot about those production operator positions, but there are a whole bunch of other jobs that go into making those products. So we have to have support teams. So for example, training and development, I would be a support role. I'm here to help support our operations side and all of our other departments. There's the safety side. We have quality. We have research and development. We have finance. We have accounting. We have human resources. Yeah. So, we have salespeople.
Sure. We
have folks that work in IT. And so really whatever your interest is, whatever you feel passionate about or feel like, maybe that's something that you could get into, there's a very good chance you could find a company in industry, whether it's, in biotechnology, like what we do here at Si02, or if it's in another area, if it's automotive or one of the other amazing companies that we have here in the Auburn area, you can probably find something related to, something that you're interested in. You want to tell them a little bit about safety, about some of the things that you guys do as far as what you look for when you go out into the plant?
Yeah, so, and it starts like this, you guys. Really what we look for in people is to make sure that they have heart, right? Mm-hmm. Because if you have heart, we can train just about anybody to do what we need to do. But, with that heart comes along of ethics and morals and make sure that we have integrity, that we're doing the right thing when nobody's looking, right? So the leadership part of, the people that we hire is crucial, even if it's entry level to, any kind of higher level with education, based on community college and or any kind of university. But the everyday safety, responsibilities that we go through is, we do audits, okay? We do lots of audits. So it involves walking around daily to make sure that people are, and the processes are doing the right things, because it's not just people, it's also the processes that we got to look into. 9 times out of 10, it's not the person that injures themselves. It's because of the processes that the person is involved in is not correctly developed to make sure that it prevents that person from getting hurt. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of OSHA policies that that we have to follow. So, for example, one of the policies is to make sure that all the ladders are secured and not able to fall, because that can cause an injury, right? So on a daily basis, I go around, look, and making sure that all the ladders are secured, that nobody has left one, out unattended while they were doing a job. Another one that we have is another responsibility is making sure that equipment, the machinery, we have a lot of robots. So I got to make sure that the machine guarding is there. We don't want nobody putting their hands, their fingers in a machine and then getting hurt, right? So that is my main responsibility, to make sure that everybody leaves the same way that they came, with their 10 fingers and 10 toes, right? We don't want nobody hurt. A couple reasons for that. One, we don't want you going back to your family's hurt, right? But two, we're a business and we're here to make money. And whenever somebody gets hurt, that can cost us a lot of millions and millions of dollars. So that's some of the responsibilities that I have.
So one of the questions that we have gotten is, what does the salary range look like? What does the sort of financial side? And I think probably the best answer I could give you is that it depends. It really depends on the job that you go into. But just to give you sort of a range, on the production side, for our production operators, they typically start somewhere between 15 and 20, give or take. But it really kind of depends on the specific job, the shift that you might be on, if you happen to be a team leader, if you happen to have some other responsibility of some kind, then that would sort of, you would have differentials, right? That would kind of go into, kind of add on to what your hourly rate might be. So that's just maybe a range that may give you a little bit better idea about how you might start off as far as that's concerned. One of the other things that we look at, and Omar alluded to this, sort of touched on it just a moment ago, when we're bringing people into the company, you guys heard Dr. Brabham earlier say that we've had this sort of crazy amount of growth in the last several months, and we have. That's very exciting. So Si02 is involved in, I'm sure you guys have probably heard the term Operation Warp Speed, and that's something that the government is sort of pushing, obviously, to get the vaccine for the coronavirus developed and ready for distribution as quickly as possible. We do have contracts both with the U.S. government and the Canadian government to help provide a lot of the materials that they need in order to accomplish that goal. And that's very exciting, but it does take a lot of workers for us to be able to do that. So with all of this new growth, as you can imagine, we have more brand new people than we have long-term employees at the moment. And so a challenge for us as an organization is, how do we bring all of those folks in and develop the kind of culture that we really want to have in the company long-term? And so to Omar's point just a moment ago, that's some of the things that we look for are things like integrity, somebody that has good character, and the folks who are going to be long-term employees here with us are going to be the folks who come in, they have a good attitude, they work hard, they show up on time, right? They follow the rules, they follow the standards. And, you sort of mentioned earlier about wanting to keep people safe. A lot of the rules and the policies and the procedures that we have in place really are either focused around safety of our employees or the quality of the product and cutting down on contamination and making sure that what we're putting out is just the highest quality. And so there are all of these rules and things that we sort of have to communicate, but it's almost the intention behind the behavior that matters even more. So I want to follow the rules because it's the right thing to do, not because I think I'm going to get my hand slapped, or if I, don't follow to the standard or follow the job instruction the way that it's written. But we're looking for folks who want to do good work, they want to have a good attitude, they want to find a career, not just a job for the next couple of weeks. We're looking for folks who want to build a career. And so they sort of come in and they do their very best every day. I'll share with you one thing that a mentor of mine shared with me probably 15 years ago. And it just really stuck with me. He said, show up to work every day as if that day is a job interview for the next job you want to have. And so every day that I come to work, I treat it like a job interview. I'm going to work as hard as I can. I'm going to do my very best. I'm going to put forth my best effort. And because there are people watching me And when positions come open that I might want to grow into, if I want to build my career here, they're going to be watching me, and they're going to know what my work ethic is like, and they're going to know what the quality of my the output, that I'm giving, the things that I accomplish. They're going to know what that's like, given the way that I work every day. And so I think that's really important, especially for you guys as you're considering your careers. Just kind of keep that in mind. Keep in mind that every day that you go to work really is a job interview for the next job that you want.
Absolutely. No, and just as you guys coming into the workplace, here's something that you guys got to keep in mind as well. Look, it's not just about going to college, to university. There's other programs out there as well, community colleges, even programs within the community college that prepares you, to that next level of work. For example, here in our manufacturing site, okay, there's sometimes we just don't look for college graduates, right? Of course, we want and we need all kinds of levels of education, but again, it's nothing to say that you're not going to get hired if you don't have a college background. And just a quick example, the way that I took my career path was a 2-year degree in mechanical engineering, architecture, business, and now my last one is going to be a process engineer in design from Southern Union. As well, I'm going to Troy University at my elder age, right? Yeah. So, but again, their opportunities are immense and wide. So don't think that you're just stuck by, not knowing that you want to go to the university at an early age. So.
Yeah. Omar and I are both big believers in lifelong learning, and the idea that it's not just about college degrees. It's just about learning more than I knew yesterday, or learning more, planning to learn more than I know today. And that sometimes can be, in official ways, like, with degrees or certifications or things like that. But it can also be through things like internships or apprenticeships, where you go and you sort of monitor what someone else is doing, or you offer to help with different projects, and it gives you exposure to areas that you might not have been familiar with before. So, for example, here at Si02, we have all kinds of engineers. I have a couple here in my training department who are from the College of Business over at Auburn. And, they said our education is really great, but we don't necessarily have a lot of hands-on in the world of training or HR. And so we've got 2 in training. We've got another one over in HR, but we also have interns in things like quality, over in R&D, in engineering, and I'm trying to think where some of the others are. HR, yeah. And so, our encouragement there is just sort of have a mindset that it's not just about the degree, or it's not just about going to school once and then you're done. We're just big believers in lifelong learning and constantly looking for opportunities to improve. Because let's be honest, none of us know it all. None of us are, perfect experts in any one discipline or whatever it might be. There's always something else we can learn. There's always areas that we can grow and we can improve. And so just sort of get it in your mind that you're always going to be looking for opportunities to learn new things and to do new things.
Sure.
Yeah. I guess at this point, Audrey, are there any comments or any questions you'd like for us to address other than what we've discussed so far?
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so very much. Amy Hannah is monitoring the chat. I do want to just make certain to say that we really do like the thing that you were talking about with the growth mindset. I think that is going to be awesome. And also some of the things as far as the collaboration and the working with Southern Union or working with a junior college too, because it's not always that 4-year degree. That's a very, very pivotal. But I'm going to turn it over to Amy Hannah, who is our career coach, and she may have some questions that were given in the chat or have some other points that she would like to. And I also want to introduce Mike Brogan. He is our machining teacher and a wonderful, wonderful addition to our staff in here. And he is on with us today too. And he's going to be he's going to give some of those students over there to you guys to work. But Ms. Hannah, if you'd like to speak now.
Thank you all so much. We actually have not had any questions come over on the chat, but I think honestly it's because you guys did such a great job of covering what we asked you to cover in advance. I love the visuals of what you actually produce, because we still do fight that mindset that manufacturing is a dirty process, and you know, you drive by your facilities and we don't see what you do. And so I love the way you showed, you know, exactly what you produce. And honestly, just the talk about the different types of jobs that are available. And Omar, you have no idea how much I was jumping up and down. You know, I was hidden behind the video, but when you said do the right thing when nobody is looking, you guys are, you know, you're just saying all the things that we say and that we try to impress upon the kids, and couldn't be happier with you know, all that you guys have said and done for our kids today. We really appreciate it.
And you know, I think it's interesting. You made a very interesting point. You know, there are all types of manufacturing. The company that I worked with for such a long time was very different. It was a wire and cable manufacturer. And it was kind of, you know, dirty out there. And you don't lean on anything unless you want to take a little piece of it home with you. You know, it smelled like grease and copper. And there's nothing wrong with that. I loved that environment. It was an incredible company. But here we talk, yes, we fall into the category of manufacturing. But you go into one of our production areas, and we call them clean rooms for a reason. You know, the air is filtered and they're very clean, and because we can't have those contaminants getting into our product. So it's exceptionally clean. And we didn't talk about gowning really, but when you go into our pharma area, for example, there's a whole gowning procedure. There are gloves and safety glasses and a hoodie and a bunny suit. It's like a jumper, you know, the pajamas that you put your kids in with the feet, you know, the feet in it and all that. It's kind of like one of those. It's a one-piece jumper thing. We have booties over your feet. We sanitize our gloves, and it's a whole process. And so it's a very clean production area. And it, to your point, very, very different from what I think a lot of people think about when their perceptions of what manufacturing is or what it can be. So that's an interesting point. You're muted.
Okay, I think it's back now. Right before we got on this, I was talking with a student individually, a female who is a perfect fit for manufacturing. And so we were talking about all the different options in the area. And, you know, she's a first generation college student, or sure she will be. And she was talking about how, you know, in her family, they still think of manufacturing as, you know, old days. And I think it's important too that you guys mention, like you did, all the safety procedures that you go through. You know, it's more than just the specifics of what you said about safety. It's about the fact that you sound like people who will take care of them. You know, and I think that kids are, you know, they're kids. They're not fully mature yet. And I think they're worried that a manufacturer is going to work them to death, and that, you know, they're going to get injured and they're going to come home just, you know, so tired that they can't get up the next day, and, you know, those kinds of things. And you did a great job of explaining, you know, how that's a huge focus, you know, financially, but also just because you care about your people, and that you're trying to create that culture of, you know, you are a family working together. You've got all different people from all different places, all different levels. And anyway, I think that really spoke to what they're concerned about.
Sure. And that's understandable. You know, you think about it when we're in middle school and high school, and we talk about the Industrial Revolution and the dangers, and, you know, children being in factories and things like that. We don't always get much about manufacturing after that. Right. From an education standpoint. And so sometimes if you're not around, I grew up in this world. My father was over maintenance at a plant in LaGrange, Georgia for years and years and years. And, you know, so for me, it was very natural. It wasn't a scary thing. But, you know, I can imagine that for a lot of people, if they've never been in a manufacturing facility, they might have some different ideas about what it might be. So, yeah.
Right. Well, it was a good way to sell it. I'm sorry, Audrey.
No, you go ahead. My apologies. Go ahead.
It was a good way to sell it to families that might typically be thinking about four-year college as the only path also. So anyway, I appreciate what you guys did. And SIO2 has always been so good, at working with us in a wide variety of ways. And we really appreciate you guys.
Yes, we do. And with that, you all, Dr. Brabham, would you like to say anything, or Mr. Brogan, if you have any comments or for closing?
I'll just say briefly that we are so blessed to have Si02 in our community. I mentioned earlier about their growth. I would be scared to say the percentage, but I believe that they've added over 500 jobs in the last few months during this difficult time, to say the least, for our area. They have certainly blessed this community and many people around this area with employment and safe employment, as you mentioned. We'll do a few more of these, and I'll talk a little bit further, Audrey, down the line. But Si02 represents one of 47 manufacturing companies just in the city of Auburn alone. And sometimes we don't think about Auburn in that way, but there are many options in many places that people can spread their wings and be successful at any level. So we're thrilled that Ty and Omar could join us today, and just appreciate all that Si02 and that they are doing for our community.
Hey, and Mr. Brogan, any last comments? Thank you, Dr. Brabham.
Hello. No, I mean, I thought it was very well covered. I appreciate you guys coming on and talking about the opportunities, because I sit in the classroom, stand in the classroom and tell them about all this all the time. And, they hear me just talking all day. And so it's always good to have, people out doing it, come in and tell them just what I've been telling them, a lot of what I've been speaking about of the opportunities. And this year, they don't get to go out to these plants to actually see what it's like, going to these plants. Their eyes always open pretty wide when they walk in and they see it's all robots and, automated manufacturing, and it's not, a bunch of, disheveled workers, like it might have been 100 years ago, and just how advanced it is around here. So it's good to get that little bit of a peek in during this COVID time.
It is. And again, we thank you on behalf of Auburn City Schools, Auburn High School, and our teachers here, our career coach, and our students, parents. Thank you all for joining us today. And with that, we will sign off. I'm going to stop the recording now. Thank you all.